first trip in a side-by-side, my first time to Hatfield McCoy, and here I'm showing the speed of the side-by-side. This Polaris I rented, it's a 2024, it's got about 30 hours on it. I had a governor, and I was going downhill and I was able to reach, I guess, 58 miles an hour. Didn't look like it. The video doesn't really illustrate how fast or how steep the terrain is. So anyway, just thought I'd give you that little feedback. There were 8 of us total. 6 of the guys brought their own UTVs with side-by-sides, and one guy was a passenger, and I rented this 2024 Polaris RZR XP. They told me it had about 110 horsepower and 30 hours on it. Also, the guys put a lot of the aftermarket pods and attachments. So they beefed up the horsepower. I think one of them has about 200 horsepower, another one 190. They had light bars, putting out a lot of light because we rode at night. Mine only had little headlights, so you'll see at the end I didn't have much visibility as far as brightness or length of light, meaning I couldn't see far out. So when we're doing 50 mile an hour, I was traveling faster than what I could see ahead of me. It was a good time. The guys like to go fast, which I enjoy, but they stop too much for my preference. They like to stop, talk, drink some beer. Me, I just want to ride all day. Most of these side-by-sides have what's called a constant velocity transmission clutching system. It's like a snowmobile. It has a belt drive, and it adjusts based on your speed, power. Honda that I'll be riding behind most of the video, that's a 6-speed transmission. I believe it's an electronic transmission, so you shift the paddles, and it has an auto clutch. And these are 2- and 4-wheel drive, meaning you can shift between 2 and 4. And then it also has a low, which gives you a little more power when you need it. The terrain here, the mud, was really, I like to call it greasy. It's like hard butter. And so you get a little spin around. That was Roger. These guys do this a couple times a year, I believe. They've been staying at the same place over the years, and they had an opening, so I jumped in and rented this Polaris RZR. It turned out to be a fun machine. Even though I had one of the lowest powered units, it was pretty powerful. was able to tie my phone through Bluetooth to the audio system. So it comes with an audio system, maps of even these trails. It's pretty cool. And that's the Honda in front of me. Carlos added a pump, air pump, so you'll see the long tube hanging off the top rear. That tube goes into his helmet and it pumps filtered air into his helmet. So these things create tons of dust. The gentleman that we rented the house from told us that it had been raining for like 3 weeks prior to our visit. So our first day, we didn't get rain, but it was, believe it or not, dusty, except for standing water areas. I don't have any of that video. And then the second day, it rained all day. And the third day was what you're seeing now. It was kind of cold, so we wore like rain gear because we get splash. Not as bad as say in a rafting trip, but you hit these puddles and it would spray up on you. So when you pass people, as you get towards the end, the guys will be putting their fingers up. Like there's 5 guys behind me, so it'll show a hand with 5 fingers up, and the last guy will have a fist saying I'm the last one. So if I was like the last, second to last one in the group, I'll have the number 1 up. That bridge you just saw was an abandoned railroad bridge. We stopped up there for a view. Some guys actually crossed over that bridge. You just straddle the railroad tracks and ride across. This is quite steep here, and we're trying to avoid the rock at the same time. bridge. I enjoy these type of trails. They're narrow, rocky. You got to manage your lines, otherwise you'll damage the vehicle. Like with my motorcycle, it's much more durable than these things. But with the motorcycle, you're going to get thrown. You don't find the right line, hit a rock sideways, whatever. With these, absorb it, but you can damage them pretty easily. See those? They're not swing arms. I don't know what they're called. A-arms. It's not coming to me. But they're quite fragile if you hit a jump and come down and bottom out, or hit a rock with them. They look like they ride pretty smooth. They have a lot of suspension, but you're still getting kicked around quite a bit in your seat. And you have a 3 to 5 point harness that keeps you in there pretty securely, but you're still getting banged around. So I braced my left foot on the floorboard and held on pretty tight with my arms. After 3 days, I could tell that I was a little sore. The muscles are working more than you realize. Yeah, so flying down these roads with all these rocks and moisture, you're constantly correcting, overcorrecting. The steering wheel is moving a lot, where it looks like from the video, or even watching the vehicle in front, they're just steering like on a road. And I like that. Really got to focus. I think I mentioned earlier the guys will put attachments on their vehicles, kind of like the blower for the helmet. They have big light bars on the top of their rigs that put out quite a bit of light, and the unit that I rented just had these little dinky headlights on them. They work for, you know, getting you home, but for doing the speed that we were doing, just wasn't enough light to see. Probably doing 40 some here. I'm thinking slow down when you pass people, just to be polite, not splash them. I enjoy ride and race my motorcycle more than these, but I'm injured right now with something going on in my wrist, and just getting over knee replacement. So I thought this would take place in my motorcycle riding. So here we're probably doing about 50. isn't too bad. It's just straight and pretty wide. I think most of us wore rain gear, so I had rain pants and rain jacket, so the water splashes up, soaks you. And you can see where Carlos in front of me was kicking up mud and water, sometimes rocks. So that's why I keep my distance from him. Later they were riding on the road without having license plates. I believe you only need to have a driver's license, and then I purchased for $50 a pass to ride these trails for a year. So it brings in revenue. People come down like we do, stay in houses or Airbnbs. And go to the restaurants, buy food. So it brings money into this depressed economy here in West Virginia. Well, a lot of this land that we're riding on belongs to the gas company. So these roads were to get to the mining areas for the natural gas. We actually drive over a gas line and pass some, I don't know if they were called ports or checkpoints, but you'll see gas lines periodically when you're riding. Not sure if I have any in this video, but we passed by them a number of times. There are other types of trails too. We have some really steep stuff where some guys were afraid to do it, and some real narrow, muddy trails. You'll see later that we're going through some water, a place called the Creeks. That's a four-seater with some, I guess, mud tires. Vinny in front of me. He's the one that invited me to go on this trip. He's got a Can-Am. That one puts out, I think, about 190 horsepower. Yeah, these are the trails I like. They're narrow, a lot of rock. So you really have to manage your lines, your speed, because you can damage the vehicle. Wheels lock up and skid down the dirt. I didn't realize that they had stopped. Couldn't see them, I guess. Now we're hopping out on the road going to a restaurant bar called Outlaws. I put this in there to show you that we ride into town, get gas, stop for dinner. That display, I didn't know how to turn it into night mode. So the first night, there was this bright white light staring me in the face. It made it really hard to see. And I finally figured out how to turn it into night mode. And here we are at night, and I mentioned that I didn't have very much light coming off my headlights. So I can stay behind somebody, I can see in front of them, but once they pulled away, it was really hard to see. So what I would do is I'd watch their tail lights and get a sense of how bumpy it was and where the turns were, try to memorize roughly where things were. As you'll see, as soon as they're out of my sight, where they take a turn or too far away, it's quite dark. Oh, yeah, there's that bright display I was telling you about. See it off there at the bottom right. Friday night was exciting for me because I really had to pay attention, memorize the vehicle in front of me's tail lights and behavior, going up and down, a little bit left, a little bit right, to sense where the trail was going. Because here we go, not much visibility, so you can tell. Making turns left or right, you can't see because the headlights kept going straight. Hear the engine rev up when I sense where I'm going, and it gets quiet when I'm unable to determine which way the path is going. But all in all, it was a great trip. I'd do it again. I consider buying one of these expensive toys. Problem is there's nowhere to ride nearby. It's worse than a motorcycle. Here we are, the last day, heading out. I needed to get back with the rest of the guys. I had to return my rental by 6. So other guys wanted to hang and drink some beers, but he has to drink. So he led me home since I didn't know how to get back. And this area is called the Creeks. So it's nice and cooling on a hot day, and kind of fun to ride through the water. So Vinny decided to go in and out of the water, and I just stayed in it because I enjoy the water. And Vinny made a mistake up here, you'll see. These vehicles have winches on them. You can add winches to them. Mine didn't have one, but Vinny had one, and so did some of the other guys. So he turned up here and he got stuck between two roots, and I believe he high-sided, which meant the dirt under the center, he was sitting on that, so he couldn't get much traction. So I turned around and got some help, and then went back and turned in my vehicle. That's it. Hope you enjoyed.